Hello everyone. Today we want to talk about some of the feedback from SBL Examiner. I cannot remember which webinar I have attended, but I summarized some of the feedback from the examiner about where are the weak areas that the students have performed, how to strengthen the areas, and also what to do during SBL exams. So I thought I want to do a video as a summary of what the SBL examiner is expecting from the SBL candidates. So the first thing is they mentioned about the weak areas of the students covering performance excellence and project management. These two topics are the weakest as far as they observe at the point of time when I attend the webinar. Particularly is project management. Project management has all the while been quite identified as a weak area of the candidates, especially for those who study full-time, because project management will be more relevant or will be made known to the candidates when the candidates actually work in an organization. So if let's say you do not have working experience, then you will have hard time understanding what does it mean by a project. So project management is all the while is there, but performance excellence is something out of something at my surprise, where students cannot really understand what does it mean by performance excellence. I think partly also relates to the experience of working. Usually in a bachelor, in a relevant bachelor, students will be exposed very well about strategic management and strategic planning, but not too much on what it really happens in the real business world, in the real organizational setting. For example, performance excellence relates to something like setting KPI. So how to set the KPI, how to pick the suitable KPI. I guess this is what the candidate may not be able to visualize. Topics like talent management, topics like empowerment, what does it mean by that? It will be better visualized if let's say you have the experience in the working setting. But if you do not have the working experience, then it may be a bit difficult for students to understand what does it all mean, right? And then examiner also point out some of the techniques, or rather to say some of the way that candidate has answered the question, which is not too strong, that cannot give them marks. Like for example, examiner has been stressing to write the risk and impact and do not just highlight the issue. It looks like a lot of candidates, they will highlight the issue from the exhibits that they have read without further explaining what is so important about the issue. Because when you highlight one issue to be told to your board of director, you must tell your board of director why is it important related to that issue. But it looks like a lot of candidates just stop until highlighting the issue without further explaining what is the risk of the issue, what is the consequence of the issue, and how does it impact the organization, right? So this one, you have to take note that you have to further extend your answer to actually gain yourself the marks. And then related to the recommendation, sometimes the candidates will give recommendations in a way that it is too ambiguous and also not able to be justified to be used in the case study setting. So examiner actually stressed that recommendations must be concrete, although need not to be professional. You do not need to be very professional like how people actually practice in the real business world, but it must be concrete. It means it must be precise. It must be specific, straight to the point, and not the general point. And it must be able to be justified that it can be applicable to the case study, the business case study, and the business environment in the case study given to you in the exam, in the SBL exam, right? So you must be able to give relevant recommendation, not only whatever that you have memorized, but also to analyze and to evaluate whether whatever that you know can be applicable to the case study scenario or not, right? Then examiner also stressed that please do not copy from the case study. So if you copy from the case study, they will know. They will know about it. Definitely they will know, because they will be able to catch whether this is copied from the case study or whether this is something that you have written after you have analyzed the case study. So I always tell my student that you do not copy bluntly, but you just quote it, right? You just quote that this happened in the case study and so on, and then you continue with your own point, right? So please do not copy from the case study. Even though now you are using CBE, it's very easy for you to copy. You just highlight, copy and paste, right? But then try not to, so that you will give a better impression out to your examiner. And then examiner also say, do not over research or over prepare. It means it is related to the pre-sim material. When you get the pre-sim material, a lot of students may go and research that particular industry highlighted in the pre-sim material. Actually, you do not need to do so, because your answer, when you need to answer the task requirement, is based on what is given in the exhibit and not too much on what you have searched in the Google. So please do not do over research. Please do not go and search extra information. I mean, you do not need to do so. You just need to analyze the pre-sim material and understand about the industry in that particular story given to you in the pre-sim material, and that will be more than enough, right? So no need to go and research on what it actually happens in our world, right? Then examiner also say that they strongly advise students to go through questions under time condition. It means to do your preparation before you go for exam. You cannot take the real exam as the first time you have done SBL question under the time condition. You cannot do so. You need to do it before you go for exam, right? So it means you have to do your own practice under time condition. So it means you cannot take your own sweet time, take your own leisure time to leisurely do the SBL question. You cannot do so. You have to pick a time yourself 3 hours and 15 minutes to complete everything, and of course before that you have to read the pre-sim material, right? So just assume you have to you need a few times of practice, assuming you are going for exam, and within the 3 hours and 15 minutes, what will you write for to answer the task requirement. So you have to practice this and see and catch your momentum at the minimum. I would say at least to catch your momentum, to catch the momentum you have in answering the SBL question. So when you go for your real exam, it is not something new for you and you know what to do, right? Examiner also say ethics is embedded, so it will not be a standalone question most of the time, right? When you answer SBL questions, for all the questions you have answered, examiner expect you to apply ethical principles in your answers. So please take note on that. Please do not recommend unethical practice as your recommendation, right? Examiners also say there is a hint which model can be used. It means if the question is related to a certain model that you have studied in your SBL syllabus, the question will hint you. The task requirement will hint you. So that's what the examiner mentioned. But again, I would like to stress, even though it is meant to answer using a certain model, if you never use the model, it doesn't mean that your answer is totally wrong, right? Model is to help you to organize your answer. But if you can still answer the task requirement without using the model, the examiner will also mark your answer and give you the marks accordingly if you have justified it properly. So it is not the end of the world, even you never use the model, which is intended to be used, right? And then examiner says solutions must be practical. It must be suitable to the case study. I think this is what we have mentioned just now, where you can have your general points, you can prepare your points accordingly, but you have to evaluate whether your points can be used or suitable to be used in the case study scenario, right? So those which are not suitable should not be written as one of the answer. Okay, continue. Examiner say do not use the governance code blindly. Practical and flexible to the organization's situation. This is talking about corporate governance. Because corporate governance, we have a set of principles, and some students, they will just use the set of principles and just apply it right? Without thinking or without evaluating whether it is something that is mentioned in the case study or not. So governance code, the principle of corporate governance, is actually for us to understand better how the best practice of governance should be. So when we understand how the best practice of governance is, then we will apply this knowledge to judge whether it is also happening in the case study scenario. It means our role is to judge whether the company in the case study scenario is having good governance practice or not. Right? So we have to judge, and we have to give our justification, and we have to give our analysis based on that, and not to just apply the code blindly and not doing any analysis on what is happening in the business scenario, right? And then examiner say skepticism is not answered well. We have 5 professional skills. Skepticism is the one that students always don't answer well. Now, skepticism is a very unique professional skills, I would say, compared to the rest, because skepticism is a way we are supposed to question. We are supposed to question something happening in the case study. Especially for Asian culture, I would say, we are not trained to question people. We are trained to be obedient. So that's why a lot of times we find it very difficult to question people, and particularly also coupled with if you are not so knowledgeable on that area, right? Then you will not know what is supposed to be questioned. So skepticism is something that all the candidates need to take notes on. To practice skepticism, basically I would say that once the question actually tells you skepticism, you can somehow and rather assume, or somehow and rather have a feeling that there will be something wrong. It is not entirely wrong. It may not be entirely wrong. It will be some parts which are correct or accurate, but there will be some parts which are very obviously wrong. And we don't mention wrong in our answer, but we say that it is questionable, and we give our justification why is it questionable. So in a way that you need to be knowledgeable. Yes, you have to be knowledgeable so that you can question something, but also you need to have your sense to pick up the odd things in the case study so that you can question it. Right? So it's a skills that you cannot, it's not for you to learn overnight, but you need some practice, continuous practice to learn how to be skeptical, right? Okay, the next thing is, examiner mentioned, do not write your answer in question format. So it means your answer should always end with a full stop and not a question mark. So please don't write your question. Please don't write your answer in a question format, especially if you need to prepare your answer in a certain format. For example, you need to prepare your answer in report format. We should not have question statement in the report format, right? So please take note on this. Some tutor during briefing, some tutor like me, right? During our briefing on the exam question, when I write my answer, when I actually write my draft answer to help students to answer the particular task requirement, sometimes I will write in a question format. Reason being, I'm giving some hints to my questions. I'm giving some hints to my students on how they are supposed to develop the thought process related to a particular task requirement. But I would like to remind my student again, it doesn't mean that you can write the question mark, right? You should turn it into a sentence. That serves as a purpose just to hint you where to think further so that you can develop further your point, right? Last but not least, examiners say, not able to pass exam without technical knowledge. Yeah, so you have to prepare yourself well. Now, even though a lot of students, they have this idea, when I study the syllabus, it looks like it is not used in answering the question. It's like a lot of candidates expect whatever that they so-called prepare or memorize can be just taken out, can be taken out and applied directly in the exam, which is not the case, right? It's not the case. So even though you never see a direct application of your answer, it doesn't mean that your preparation is not useful, right? Definitely it is useful. You have to know the syllabus, you have to learn the knowledge, then only you will have the knowledge to analyze the scenario given to you in the SBL exam. So please do not think that syllabus is not important and so you can skip the syllabus and just do your past year questions. No, you have to make sure yourself understand the syllabus well before you move to answering the questions. If not, you will have issue with answering some of the questions, right? So I hope this list of comments from examiners will help you in preparing your SBL exam questions, and I wish you all the best and see you in next video.